This is going to be a story of if you feel unsafe, run. If you feel like, man, I'm going to do something, you need to just leave the situation. It's not worth it on either party's part. All right. But let's get into this upsetting story. Beloved teacher kidnapped, fatally shot by estranged husband in front of kids before he turned the gun onto himself. A Florida teacher was kidnapped by her estranged husband, fatally shot in front of their kids before he turned the gun on himself as police closed in. First responders found Jamie Felix's 10 and 17-year-old children unharmed, sitting with their mom, who died at the scene of the crime. Felix was a 49-year-old middle school teacher at Trinity Academy K-8, a school in Port St. Lucie, where she was crowned Teacher of the Year. Her estranged husband, Ray Felix, who was 60 years old, was a maintenance worker, paraprofessional, and behavioral technician there until he resigned shortly after being charged with domestic battery last October. The couple were going through a messy divorce that reportedly included previous incidences of domestic violence before she was killed. Court documents show Ray Felix and Jamie Felix filed for divorce last October, and a few days later, Ray Felix was arrested for battery against her after police say that he grabbed her and threw her to the ground. They had an upcoming divorce hearing scheduled for June. Ray was armed and disguised when he snuck up on Jamie and the kids in a business parking lot in Port St. Lucie around 4 p.m., forced everyone to get into his rental car, and sent a suspicious email to the co-workers. All right. And the acting police chief essentially said that the letter was saying like, oh, I lied about getting beat up and thrown to the ground. And I mean, everything's perfectly fine. Me and Ray, I mean, we're great, like two peas in a pod. That's essentially what the email said. And the coworker looked at it, was like, that doesn't seem right. All right. And so her coworker reported the email to the police at around 6:30 p.m. because the situation had already spiraled out of control. By that time, Ray forced his 17-year-old son into the rental car and made him follow the mother's SUV, which headed south into West Palm Beach. Jamie drove the SUV with the gun pointed at her head, according to police, while their 10-year-old son was in the back seat. That's also something real quick that I want to mention. I was watching this video, and essentially the police officers were saying, if someone wants you to go and drive them to a certain location, they're like, I'm gonna kill you if you don't drive me. Essentially, they were like, yo, you might just have to do it, because wherever they're gonna take you is not gonna be good. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, if they're forcing their way into your car, they're forcing you to do XYZ. It's one of the things where it's like, you're going to have to just do it here because I'm not getting in the car with you. But let's continue. They finally stopped and pulled into a parking lot of a Quality Inn motel. Ray and Jamie got out of the SUV, and Ray fired multiple shots at his wife. The kids watched their mom collapse to the ground as the dad sped off into the rental car. That was around 7:30 p.m. when West Palm Beach police were flooded with 911 calls, of course, of the incident. Jamie was pronounced dead at the scene, and responding officers found Ray about a quarter mile away from the rental agency after he returned the car. So he thought, y'all, I'm going to be able to kill my wife in front of my kids. I'm going to use a rental car instead of my car because, I'll be able to get away with it. And then return the car, then flee, and no one's going to catch me. No one's going to know anything. And that's why he was disguised too. Let's continue. As the officers approached, Ray shot himself. But why didn't, no officers fired any shots or anything. He just, he looked, all right, they got me. I'm going to have to do what I got to do. All right. But I want to give a little bit more information. Said that she allegedly had a restraining order filed against him from a previous domestic violence situation as well. It's very upsetting that this is the kind of stuff that happens. But there's just certain things that people need to do. And it seemed like she did really everything. You have a restraining order, but that's the problem with the restraining. I don't have a piece of paper near me, but that's the problem with the restraining order. It's a piece of paper. Okay, ooh, you can't touch me. But there's no like police security. There's none of that. And I get you don't have the head count, the manpower to do it. But that's also another thing. You have a piece of paper. Stop. Look, I got a piece of paper. And there's not too much that people can do about that. It's just like, you know, and that's what's so unfortunate because the police is like the after effect. All right, we're going to come in after things happen. That's the unfortunate part because you can't be everywhere. That's the thing. But she had the restraining order. He was beating on her probably multiple times before she filed for file for divorce. Filed for divorce, was waiting on the hearing and everything like that. And even if, and I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, well, even if, let's just say she didn't get in the car, who's to say this wacko wasn't going to do it right there? I mean, he went and killed himself. It's one of those things, oh, if I can't have you, then nobody can. But now you have your 10-year-old and your 17-year-old who are now going to be both without a mother and father. For what? Because you were just so, I mean, you were so obsessed with this lady and so controlling that and possessive that, oh, well, she can't be happy. She just can't be happy. If I'm not happy, then she can't be happy. And I don't care who else has to suffer through it. But let me know what you all think about that story down below.